However, my friend who presented earlier question documents, I am not here to talk about it. Now, the other technologies which are really considered as determinants of truth apart from that. What's that? Huh? What is the problem? This application of science to law will be more meaningful only when the complementary interactions of wide range of scientific specialties and disciplines occur. If I draw the relevance of this to the brain mapping and the narcoanalysis, there has to be integration of the electrophysiologist, the neuropsychologist, clinical psychologist, forensic psychologist, and various other fields or experts available in other fields are to be brought onto a platform. Then only brain mapping now will become much more successful in future. Similarly here, the ultimate goal of any kind of science, the goal of identification process in forensic science is, number one, individualization. To say that a particular piece of evidence originates from a specific locus, scene, or person. Now the scope, if I go in, quickly I would like to say, the technology has an ever increasing impact how crime is committed and how the law enforcement detects. Though the field forensic scientists now here are the first to deal with operational police, the interactions presently crime occurs, the field scientists are to be made available, their interactions between the police who goes to the crime and then starts his investigatory process, they have to be brought onto a platform with acceptable nitty-gritty in the field. The collection of evidence right away or evidence of materials and investigation appears to compromise scattered gun approach by a minimum use of far greater innovative proactive uses of forensic science now have traversed from handling crime objects to those of individuals concerned with crime. Therefore, now the proactive use either in respect of crime objects or handling, collection of crime objects, or in handling of individuals connected with crime, right? If it is properly, then the results is going to be very, very cost effective. And these are the technologies now which have become useful in preventing certain espionages, conspiracies, explosion, frauds, and other crimes. With this basic introduction, I'll straight away move on to narcoanalysis with a view to avoid loss of time. Narcoanalysis, what we have conceptualized, how a molecular picturization one is able to look at when the narcoanalysis is being done. We made attempts to see how molecule interacts in the narcoanalysis or various stages of narcoanalysis. Before I really go to say what about narcoanalysis, let me tell you the rationale behind it. Because there are many, many misconceptions among the users, among the investigating officers, among the judicial officers. Now this method has a sound rationale. In order to elucidate that, I will give a few examples. More recently, researchers towards the development of new and effective drugs, if you can recall, they are always based on the linkages between the biomolecule and the bioactivity in question. If inflammation is to be handled, I would only look for anti-inflammatory, not or antipyretics or analgesics. There are pathways of difference between the drugs, and this selection of the drug becomes more meaningful when you are looking at a particular biomolecular activity and the way in which the molecule is to be handled by the drug. The same rationale also exists in quite a few cases. These are all certain examples, like inflammation, when I talk about the normal drugs are eticoxib, rufecoxib, and so on. Recently evolved those drugs. Some of them have already now become banned, right? In spite of that, they are in use. And certain other group of anti-inflammatory drugs, what you know as enolic acids. Now these enolic acids, if you compare the activities among themselves, which is better, which is not better, what is to be administered, probably there has to be some kind of a knowledge understanding about what molecule. In these two cases, there are two molecules, cyclooxygenase and cyclooxygenase 1 and 2. So these two molecules are involved, right? If these two molecules are properly handled, your inflammation can be handled. Therefore, the drugs. So these are so specific, they would look at the cyclooxygenase molecule and how to interact with these particular molecules. Go down again. Injurious to retina. Any injurious to retina, today the treatment is only to see that the collagen hydrogenase concentration is built up around the retinal walls if there has been a damage. So the focus is again, look at the collagen hydrogenase concentration at that particular junction. If it is smaller, then if it is insufficient, find out the reason, maybe from the genetic pathways you are able to say, or there are various other pathways by which we can look at it. But my focus is, you are treating that, I need to look at collagen hydrogenase. Let us go down with all this. Ultimately, what I am now concentrating with is the inhibition, basically GABA receptor. I am looking at this molecule in the narco-analysis. See, this is a neurotransmitter inhibitor basically. And every individual, this molecule gets synthesized in the CNS system. The property of this molecule is to carry inhibitory neurons to the neural membrane. This is the basic property what this biomolecule does. And therefore, whenever there is a transmission of inhibitory neurons, one behaves. The behavior of inhibition in any individual is attributed basically to this aspect, the transmission of neurotransmitter inhibitor to the neural membrane by this particular molecule. Now the question is, see, when a person is under conscious awareness, he doesn't say truth. He doesn't go to the police and say, look, I have committed this murder and I have brought the murder weapon and all that, this is the reason, all that, there is absolutely no difficulty. But that is not going to happen. He says, the chairman was saying, the Article 20 and Sub-Rule 3, yes, I have every right to remain silent, why should I say about it? You have capacity, ability, detect what is happening. Right, I have constitutional right to vest with me, I don't talk at all. It is the responsibility of the prosecution to find evidence. Similarly, personal privacy, Article 21. No, why should I give my mind? I have the constitutional right again. Now, please understand, these days, the technologies have gone far beyond. Let us say, go back to DNA technology. When when it was brought to the application level in 1986, it was applied to the field of forensic science. In Karnataka, it took about 7 years to recognize its value as evidence by the Kerala High Court. The first decision on DNA was given by the Kerala High Court in 1993. A 7 years gap. We have taken about 7-8 years to accept the DNA evidence. Even then, if you can look into certain decisions that are available, Nandini Satpathi's case was the Bible for us, so far as Article 20 and Sub-Rule 3 was concerned. But these days, technology have led various high courts to say, yes, the courts have gone to the extent to examine whether these constitutional rights are absolute. These are the technologies which have made platform, which have created environment to think about the very absolute nature of the right itself. That's anyhow, we'll come to that little later. But what I want to impress upon you is the technology is making a very stringent, very significant impact, even so far as the resonances, the law, resonances of law is concerned. Now, when I look into this GABA receptor, well, then I need to know, yes, all right, everyone has, inhibition. He tries to inhibit what, okay, fine. How do we overcome inhibition? Supposing an individual is taken out of the state of inhibition, or is brought to the state of disinhibition. How does he behave? This is what we could look into. We did do that, and then In order to handle this biomolecule, we were looking for particular type of drug. Most of the drug suitable for handling GABA receptor is some of these barbiturates. Not all the barbiturates. There are scopolamine, amobarbital, secobarbitals, all that are available. But not all the barbiturates. All the barbiturates do handle, there is no doubt about it, do handle inhibitory neurons, do handle GABA receptor molecule. But among them, there is a difference. That difference depends on various drug characters, various pathways of drugs, and so on. Earlier, secobarbital was being used. For some years it was used, but it was not found to be successful for one reason: the mobility of inhibitory neurons to the neural membrane was uncontrollable. Therefore, extra additional precautionary measures was required. And every individual now had a tendency to slip into sedation and then slip into further aspects in those particular case of drugs. It may be amobarbital, it may be secobarbital, all that. Now only one barbiturate that comes to our rescue is pentothal sodium because of its definite characters. Like, I just want you to focus the side chain of this particular drug, the sulfur linkage. I am not talking much of chemistry here, I know the audience, but a few aspects need to be told is, look at this side chain molecule of the particular drug. Most of the drug characters and the pathway of drug action there in the narcoanalysis is being controlled by these two side chain molecules for the particular drug. Now what will happen to this? Let us see. Now this particular drug, because of this two, see, this drug has been classified as ultra short acting drug. That is, onset is fast, deset is also equally fast. So the brain and the blood barrier are crossing over these two barriers. Go to the blood barrier, then to the brain barrier, come back to the blood barrier, and then to dissipate itself. This process is equally fast. Onset is fast, its half-life in the brain is very, very short, its half-life in the blood is very, very short, and immediately it disproportionates itself. Therefore, it has been characterized as ultra short acting drug. Let us see what does the drug do and how does it handle the molecule. Now when this particular drug is administered, the onset will be within 30 seconds. Because of this high lipid solubility and strong hypnotic action. Here I am referring to only drug action. Don't get confused between the hypnosis. Yeah, I am not talking about hypnosis here. Then, if you talk to the anesthesiologist and seek his view, he says, yes, in this narcoanalysis, when we handle this, inhibitory systems in the diffuse ascending reticular activating system is preferentially blocked. That's what it is happening. Then the recovery from anesthesia is rapid due to the redistribution of the drug to the tissues. There is no danger of even excess amount of drug being available in the system. One reason being, it doesn't stay in the brain, it doesn't stay in the blood, right? It disproportionates itself to the drug. So there is absolutely any side effects of pentothal sodium is absolutely nil. Not even a single literature accounting death due to excess use of pentothal sodium. No. I would again take you back to the system of illegal elimination of individuals there in the US. What they do is infuse pentothal sodium to a highest degree levels, make him almost comatose, then introduce aliphatic compounds like sodium chloride, the halides, sodium chloride and potassium chloride, disrupt the ionic mobility in the system and cause myocardial infarction, put him ultimately to the death, the silent death, or you will call it as legal death. Is only in that event where the concentration is very highly excessive. We are not going to that level at all. We are handling, probably when you compare to that level and the level what we do, it is about maybe about 10,000 times less than what we use for narcoanalysis. And the depletion of the drug concentration in the blood is also very, very rapid because of the drug action itself. Now, when we start the process, in any anesthetic procedure, there are 4 stages that are happening. One is awakening. The next stage, they call it as hypnotic. Dr. Malne calls this as trance. For narcoanalysis, the sedative and the anesthetic level. Now look at the appropriate drug concentration here. Here itself, I am not going to the excessive level where a man can be got killed. No. Even at the level of anesthetic level, the highest level of anesthesia will have only about this concentration of the drug, which is about 5 to 6 times less than what I use for narcoanalysis. So this I am making little force in that please don't be under the impression that drug is going to cause lot of harm to the body, lot of harm to the, no, it is absolutely no such things has ever been established. Now here, when a person is in the awakening stage, Article 20 and Sub-Rule 3 will come to his rescue. It doesn't say. Now in the second stage, where his inhibition is brought reasonably to a lowest level by pentothal sodium, his inhibition is removed. He may have tendencies to speak about what he wants, provided he is appropriately handled and then focused. Otherwise again, at this stage, he has a behavior to slip into the next stage, which is sedation. The sedation or sedative stage or the anesthetic stage, so far as the forensic science is concerned, or so far as the crime investigation is concerned, these are the 2 stages again which are not useful. He simply sleeps in the 3rd stage. In the 4th stage, in addition to his deep sleep, he becomes immobilized, where surgical interventions are caused. I am not going to that level also because it is not used for me. The 1st stage is also not useful for me because he keeps lying. In the awakening stage, he doesn't say. So what is that is left for me is to handle an individual in the state of trance. Let me see how does he behave. Let me see what he reveals there in the state of trance and what kind of probative value it has. Now, this drug, again, whether take any barbiturates, all the other barbiturates interact with pentothal sodium, go to CNS through the alpha site. There are differences in the synapses, how the drug behaves even in the synapses. Now, this is one drug behaves. See, the carrying of inhibitory neurons by pentothal sodium, after interacting with GABA, it goes to the central nerve system through the beta site. Only other barbital, amobarbital, pentobarbital goes towards the alpha site. These 2 different sites for different barbiturates, they themselves prefer this route, not new. If any psychiatrist, they ask psychiatrists, they have practiced narcoanalysis. But narcoanalysis they have practiced for only psychological reality, where they can diagnose the mental illness and cause the treatment. That's all. Psychiatrists never bothered about the probative truth of crime. So therefore, what is revealed in the psychiatric narcoanalysis, it was not necessary for the doctor or the physician or the psychiatrist to know whether he was revealing truth. Please understand this difference. Therefore, what happened? A thorough work has been done on this narcoanalysis. There is one paper which appears in Lancet in 1960. They have done all these works. Now psychiatrists, they are not bothered about the probative or probativity of revelations. Why are they not bothered about the probativity of the relation? One reason being is the neurosis, the extent of neurosis, or in other words, in the normal words of understanding, the quantum of sedation, they did not bother. They did not quantify. Now this is what, when I handle neurosis, and in psychiatric praxis, Dr. Malne will tell you how there could be malingering. But here, all that is controlled by 2 different processes. One is the anesthetic process, where the neurosis is determined, the quantum of neurosis is determined, and the another is the skills of forensic psychologists are clinical psychologists to see that there are no delusions, there are no malingering, and so on. So amalgamation of these two have tremendously increased the probativity of the revelations. I believe that I made it clear that in psychiatric practice of narcoanalysis, it is only psychological reality. Now I look for probative truth of crime. So therefore, I need to control the neurosis. The neurosis is by the quantum of sedation what is decided for a particular individual, and the techniques of handling that individual in the state of trance to avoid all this. You can't say somebody else, a person talking under the influence of a drug, if you talk to a psychiatrist, he simply said delusion. I had an interaction with a leading pharmaco-psychiatrist, and I asked this question, Dr. Mohan, yes, in our terminology it is delusion. Whereas these are not the drugs which could produce either hallucination or delusion. I can figure out what are the drugs. If we use amphetamine, there are certain narcoanalysis where amphetamine is also used, or ketamine is also used to certain extent, right? There we may expect, I do not know certainty, but when amphetamine is used, I am certain there is going to be hallucinations. There could be some degree of delusions in certain other drug, may not be with amphetamine again. So if you ask a person who has understood the drug, yes, no, amphetamine also cannot produce delusions. Amphetamine will produce only hallucinations. So here, pentazole sodium will only take you to state the desired level of sedation. It doesn't produce delusion, it doesn't produce hallucination. Now, in that particular state of deep sleep, it is the techniques of forensic psychologists or clinical psychologists to handle that individuals to get information about the crime. Proceeding further, how actually the GABA is being taken to inhibitory neurons is in the form of this particular, when GABA interacts with the pentothal sodium, a molecular ion complex that is formed. It is this complex which carries the inhibitory neurons to the neural membrane through the beta site. The synaptic site being beta, it keeps carrying the inhibitory neurons. Now here, all the success of the narcoanalysis is dependent on two factors. Now, they increase the drug concentration. That means I am now altering the degree of neurosis and decreasing the drug concentration. Again, I am altering the degree of neurosis. Now, at some particular stage, yesterday Dr. Malini was handling a terrorist guy. The terrorist guy was stable in the trance for about 2-3 hours.